Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Welcome, everyone who joined already. We will wait for a couple more minutes for a couple more people to join, and then we will kick off. In the meantime, you can just look at us.
Our nice faces, just to keep everyone entertained for a couple of minutes.
Exactly. Anne-Maria, where are you joining from today?
I'm joining from the snowy Tallinn in Estonia.
Is it snowing?
Wow.
It's very snowy. We have a snow explosion. And
wow.
right now it is -8 degrees, so it's getting warmer.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Is it beautiful, magical?
Very magical. I'm enjoying it a lot.
How thick is the snow?
Hard to say. It depends on the regions. At least where I live is I don't know. I would even say half a meter at places. We are at this stage where it's hard to put it anywhere.
Wow.
So it's quite a spectacle.
Sounds beautiful though.
All right. I think we have quite a few people who already joined, so let's kick in. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our webinar. We are going to talk today about QA in customer support and QA in voice in particular. We have wonderful speakers today. We're going to start with introducing ourselves. I can kick us off. So I am Irina. I'm a co-founder and CTO of Cordless. Cordless, of course, is a telephony platform for customer support teams with built-in conversational intelligence, and I will let the rest of the speakers introduce themselves. Shannon, maybe you can kick us off.
Yeah, hi everybody. Thanks so much for coming along. I'm Shannon. I am a customer operations manager here at Ophelos. We are an AI-led company who help customers manage their debts in a more ethical and empathetic way. And we actually use Cordless as our telephony provider, and we also use Klaus, which is a nice segue over to Anne-Maria. So I'll let you go over to her.
Thank you so much. So hi, I'm Anne-Maria. I'm a product marketing manager at Klaus, and Klaus is a customer service quality management solution, helping teams, get a really good overview of, what their support quality is like, helping to scale it, automate it, and in the end, hopefully, get to drive revenue through providing that excellent customer service.
Wonderful. Thank you both. I'm very excited. I'm very excited to hear how Ophelos does QA, what Shannon thinks about QA, how Anne-Maria from the world-leading company on QA thinks about QA and customer support. So we're going to kick off with a kind of broad question. Why is quality assurance important? Why is it important for great customer support? Anne-Maria, can you weigh in?
Yes, that's a very good question and a very good segue into the whole topic. From a QA standpoint, I think you can look at the importance from two perspectives. So it's one is external, one is internal, both interconnected, but just for the sake of explaining it in a simple manner, then let's kick it off with external. So obviously, I think every support team out there kind of understands that the whole customer expectation side of how good the quality and the consistency of the service offered is. The expectations are high, the expectations are continuously increasing. And for very many companies, customer service teams are, on the front line of any customer interactions. You are the first contact point. So you can be considered as, to be the business card for your organization. And thinking about, okay, expectations are rising, they expect a lot from us, and, we hope that, our service is good, but how can you really tell? So QA is there to kind of help answer those questions and also identify if there are any issues and help you to resolve those issues before they actually become a bigger problem that starts, impacting your, customer experiences, your customer satisfaction. And, if things go really wrong, then, also the whole loyalty and churn side of things. And that feeds really nicely into the narrative where, support teams are often considered to be, a cost center. But in reality, being on the front line and, being the first contact, that's not true. Support teams very, very much feed into the whole being a profit center side of things. It impacts your bottom line. And, on the internal side, there's the whole employee happiness, agent attrition side of things. And QA is a very important ingredient to any support team that's invested in their team growth. And very often many companies, measure customer feedback as their, let's say, quality metric. CSAT, CES, NPS, and the like. But, very often these KPIs don't actually showcase what's wrong with your customer service. And, the only way to actually understand, okay, what's wrong and to help your support team grow and, improve their skills is through giving them specific feedback on actual real use cases. So doing QA helps, to identify those use cases and help your agents actually become, overcome their weaknesses, help to improve their skills, and also make sure that, they are following any of your, internal policies, guidelines, compliance requirements, etc. So I would like to sum it up in a way that, QA for, support teams is an investment into the future. So, it's like you invest into QA, you in return invest into your customers, into your employees, and, by, let's say, improving your service, you also invest into improving your bottom line.
That's very well put. Thank you so much. I used to work at Monzo, and I used to work in customer operations and tech side of customer operations. And Monzo built very strong community and very strong product and acquired a lot of customers precisely because of the strength of customer support. So it is definitely a big factor in choosing whatever provider, choosing the product. And especially post-pandemic and during the pandemic, where a lot of businesses kind of didn't have any other presence, and maybe the only interaction you have with the business is through the customer support team. So you need to be really, really sure that it is top-notch, otherwise you're losing customers. Shannon, what do you think about the importance of QA?
I love QA, and I think everybody always tells me just basically how important it is to me and how much I can talk about it. But I think from a manager's perspective and also running a customer service department, I found that quality assurance is really important to maintain great customer support for many reasons. And one of them is bringing your company values alive at every step of the journey. And, for example, at Ophelos, we really pride ourselves in our empathy, our understanding, and our patience for customers. And we really want our specialists to be focused on that, focused on the customers, and really picking up on more than what's just been said, but also taking into consideration, the nuances like their tone, their environment as well. So where this can really help is basically we can train for that and measure it equally within scorecards with QA. So under sections such as global listening skills, listening, questioning, what was their tone like? And by doing this, your specialists fully understand how to help your customers in the best way that aligns with your core values as well. So I think it then kind of creates a really great domino effect. So with one thing influencing the other. So happier agents, happier customers, better CSAT scores, good first time resolution, which is super important for a lot of people. And just helping your agents feel more empowered to resolve, those customer issues and really make a difference. So I think people can look at QA as just one standard thing of making sure that you are compliant and you're making sure you're hitting all these points. But I believe it really has a huge impact and effect on many parts of the business. So I love it.
Absolutely. And you touched a little bit on this already, so that you kind of encode company values in the scorecard that you measure agents against. Perhaps measure is a bit harsh word for it. But so what are the things that you look at when you review conversations?
So I think with us, we look at many different aspects, such as, well, if we want to lead with obviously compassion and empathy, we want to make sure that our agents, encapsulate those core values as well. So we are looking at things like global listening skills, not just active listening. Like, have you, if we're speaking to someone on the phone and they have like kids in the background, have you actually acknowledged that and taken that into the circumstances? Like, what, could that mean that they are a single parent, or what time of day is it? Is it, what that could depend on the age the kid is as well. And that just really helps us signpost better, understand their situation a lot better, and it just helps us actually lead into more different different questions, to really help our customers a lot better. So that's what I'm meaning by, like, one thing really can feed into another. So if you're extremely aware, then we can pick up on so much more. So our QA agents try and listen to that as well within phone calls too. I hope that answered your question there.
Yeah, that's great. It's quite advanced, I would say. Like, they not just active listening, not just like repeating the same words or using the same language, but also kind of being more all over empathetic and attentive to a customer. I think that's great. I guess my next question is, how do we do it well? How do we do QA well now that we established that this is an important thing? So what are the best practices that customer support managers or heads of QA can implement? Anne-Maria, maybe from the QA side, you can answer that.
Yeah, of course. So obviously, QA programs are not just pick one, go with it, and succeed. They're like different levels, and it does depend. Let's say how seasoned you are within your team with it, but starting with the basics, like I mentioned earlier, like very many companies and teams evaluate their quality levels based on customer feedback. But if customer, for example, reacts to your CSAT survey and they had a problem, for example, with something that was not related to your support team, how can the support agent know that, okay, I did wrong? When in comparison, they may not have done anything wrong. So one thing I would really recommend to look at is, okay, customer feedback is one side, but it's important to also know, like, what does internal quality mean for your team internally. So that means setting up very clear and specific quality standards that kind of showcase what do you want to achieve with your quality program. And then you can use this knowledge as a foundation to set up your QA program. Again, what is your desired outcome? What types of problems do you want to resolve? Setting very specific goals. Okay, how many conversations you want to review? Setting up the scorecards that actually reflect, like Shannon said, your values. Like, this is a very important component in your scorecard. Okay, again, what do you want to achieve? What are your goals? And then, reviewing the right conversations that, you make sure that you put your human effort, because, resources are limited. So you want to make sure that, you use your time wisely. And that's something, that Klaus, or any quality management solution can help with, set that like a basis to set up this process on. So you can, automate, scale, track those performance metrics, not just, feedback KPIs or any productivity metrics, but also stuff like internal quality score that very clearly shows to your agents that, okay, yes, the customer said, I did something wrong, but according to our quality standards, I was actually doing great. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. And something that we in Klaus very much emphasize is that, okay, you get the data, you do the work, you review things, you do your QA processes, but the data is great, but how you use this data and how you put those learnings into practice is actually what takes your quality or support quality to the next level. So it's very important to do it systematically, frequently. Again, the specifics are up to the team to decide on themselves, but doing it in a way that is trustworthy and actionable to the agents as well. So do your coaching sessions, set up training programs that fill in the gaps. And very often in QA, we focus on finding the mistakes, but it's also very important to actually acknowledge when stuff gets done very well. So my general suggestion would to make it a conversation, between your team and your agents, and not just like one-sided monologue that, hey, you did wrong, improve, but no action items left after that. So, and once you're set with your processes, rinse, repeat, and then calibrate every now and then to make sure that you're doing things in an aligned way. So that would be my take on that.
Yeah, absolutely true. Metrics like CSAT and NPS can never give you the full picture of how specifically your customer support is performing. As something that we struggled at Monzo as well, to come up with this metric. So the internal QA goals and internal QA measurements are like very important. And yeah, absolutely. If you have all this data, the next step is to do something with this data, right? And I really love the focus on having a two-way conversation and reinforcing the positive behaviors and not just discouraging negative behaviors. It's kind of, for product people out there, it's kind of similar to why we do retrospectives, for example.
Yeah.
We don't just focus on everything that we did wrong in the last week or in the last 2 weeks, but we also focus on what we did right so that we can do more of that. So yeah, thank you for that. Shannon, what do you think about the best practices?
I think I obviously agree with a lot of what Anne-Maria said, especially when it comes to open dialogue and open conversation. With regards to like quality assurance and how I've wanted to build it within Ophelos is very much open communication and providing a feedback loop. So one of the best practices that we implement here is basically acknowledging that your specialists are doing everything they absolutely can with all of the tools that you have provided them during onboarding to help your customers. So what that looks like is during onboarding, we really set the tone for our quality assurance. So we have sessions on it. We're really transparent about it. We show the scorecards of what they're obviously being measured against, if you want to use that word. I show Klaus what that looks like. I show them around the platform. And then I think one of the most important things is we ask them, your specialists or your agents, that is, how would you like to receive feedback? It's like going forward, because I think that's extremely important, because if you want them to take on any type of feedback, whether that's even good or constructive, then we have to take into consideration their wants as well. So, and I think it really helps make those harder conversations more comfortable for manager and direct reports too. So that's one of the main practices that we implement. So I think having everyone understand that mistakes are natural and not just always honing in on that, because I think a lot of people will approach QA with like, you're wrong, this is right, or very rigid and there's no discussion, this is regulation. But we want to take another approach in a sense of like, open that floor. This is why you've scored this percentage, and here's what you can do going forward. Like you've mentioned, making sure that it's not just about the QA, it's implementing how you can then go forward to not repeat that. And I think it's easy to bypass more holistic approaches in quality assurance, like building trust and creating psychological safe spaces. But in reality, that's really what's going to elevate your team's performance and accuracy when dealing with those customer queries. Building trust, it just becomes, I guess, easier, and team members want to actively seek that feedback rather than just dread it. So
100%, 100%. And it is especially important to do this as you scale. So to maintain, to keep this humanistic approach to QA, because I guess it's super easy to, when you reach a certain number of agents, when the operational challenges become kind of more and more complicated, it's very easy to revert to kind of a checklist and the procedure that both the manager and the QA, the person responsible for QA manager and the agent needs to follow. But again, speaking of the experience of Monzo, so when I was there, we scaled from serving 500,000 customers to serving over 3 million customers. And the customer support team grew from, I think, around like 40 or 50 to 750 to 800. And maintaining the culture and maintaining the culture of responsibility and agency amongst people who talk to your customers is super important, and the QA is a crucial aspect in this, because it won't work if people working in customer support don't know that they will be assessed based on just like a soulless checklist. I also really love that you ask people how they prefer to receive feedback. I think that's also very important. That's great, yeah. So kind of maybe broaden it up a little bit and talk about in general challenges with QA. So Shannon, I'm very interested to hear, like, in your experience, what are the challenges that you kind of come across most often? And I am particularly interested in challenges of the voice QA, because obviously it's a kind of unique channel with its own unique challenges.
Yeah, no, agreed. And I think it's really important to look at it from a perspective of a growing company, especially scaling and taking on more and more, clients or customers, whilst also maybe your operations department will grow, but it's never at the same rate as customers. So I think one of the main challenges is just making sure that coverage wise for that, in being able to quality assure a certain percentage each month, each week, to make sure that you're actually dealing with all of that, plus also being able to put the training out to the rest of the team. So I think making sure your coverage is the right amount for different types of scenarios, because things when you're growing, so compliance can obviously change. The FCA like to kind of throw things out there, the new consumer duty, making sure that you're developing your scorecards with that, new starters coming on, new clients, processes change. You want to monitor this, and it's also really difficult if you have not that a smaller department, I suppose. So, and I think where Cordless actually makes it a lot easier for us is the Ask AI and the keyword tracker. We spoke about this a lot, and it was one of the main reasons why we did come over to Cordless, because it's amazing that you can actually, in any type of scenario, get 100% coverage. We can ask it particular questions. We can really train that Ask AI, and then where this helps us is if it flags to say that we maybe didn't do something, then we can tag it as something in particular. For example, we can tag it as QA, like a QA flag. We can then pull this directly into Klaus, into like a side panel. So one of the, oh my God, my words has just left me there. We can then pull it into Klaus and make sure that we can actually monitor those conversations. So Cordless is doing all of that work by 100% coverage, and then flagging up any things that a human needs to actually look at. We pull it into Klaus, and then we can monitor it with one of the workspaces within there, which is really great. So, because obviously, yes, we want to pick up all of the good conversations, but we also equally really want to make sure that anything that we might have failed compliance-wise is getting fed back and picked up on, to make sure that that customer is getting the journey that we want them to have. So that's where Cordless and Klaus really kind of marry together really well, actually, from our side.
Amazing. That's really good to hear. I'm really happy to hear that. And we'll talk about it a little bit in just a second. But yeah, I also want to add from my side, so about the challenges in voice QA, challenges with voice in general. Actually, this is the reason why we built Cordless. Voice as a channel has been somewhat neglected in the recent years, especially in the last like 5-10 years, where there has been a lot of development with chat, a lot of new products to support customers over chat, but voice remains one of the, if not the, on the global scale, the preferred channel for customers, especially for emotional or complicated issues. So the problem with the neglected voice being the neglected channel is calls are a black box. So up until very recently, the only way to review calls was to select a certain percentage and just listen to them. And depending on your product or depending on your service, you can have a very long call. So you can have a 40-minute call, you can have an hour-and-a-half long call. So it takes a long time to review them. At Cordless, with Cordless, you transcribe, like we transcribed all calls by default. And then we'll talk a little bit about Ask AI in the next minute. But yeah, like once you have the transcripts, once you have this data, especially we collect with other joint data that we provide for the call center performance, you can do a lot with this data, and you can do it a lot more efficient than just manually reviewing every single call or random subset of calls. And another thing that I think this is where Klaus comes in actually very well, that for a lot of companies, different channels are in different places. So calls are in one platform, calls might even be outsourced to an external provider, chats are with another platform. It gets even more complicated if the product is complex, so there is like tiers of support where there is specialist support and frontline support, and often it's difficult to have a picture of how it all performs together. And not just from the perspective of performance of your team, but also what we strive to provide with our AI-based features is understanding of the content of your conversations. So why are customers calling you? Why? What are they? Is something broken? Is the part of your product difficult to, or part of your onboarding difficult to go through? Or are there any kind of trends and common issues? So yeah, kind of collecting it all in one place. I think Klaus is a really good tool for that, where you can get all your conversations, no matter what channel, and then have a holistic view of like how it all works together. Yeah, cool. So I think obviously this is not a very smooth segue, but I'm just very excited to talk about it. Both Klaus and Cordless invested a lot of in developing tools to help automate some parts of this process and to help to make it smoother. So I am really, really excited to hand it over to Shannon. I'm going to share slides in a second, so Shannon can tell us how Ophelos uses Cordless and Klaus and the automated QA features to make their QA process smooth and efficient. I'm going to share now. Here we go.
Lovely. Nice, I like it. I really love that you chose, Friends theme for Phoebe Buffet. Yeah, so I'll try not repeat myself too much, but I think with regards to obviously Cordless coming in, I said one of our main drives for signing up with Cordless was the AI feature, and actually exactly what Irina was mentioning, that it's very much you have to choose a couple of calls and then manually quality assure them, which again we still do, but that's really not giving us a great amount of coverage and making sure that actually is our service really linear across the board, and is all of our customers getting the service and the journey that we want them to have. So it's really great. So what we've done with Ask AI and with Cordless is that we pop in a couple of questions that are extremely important to our QA and our compliance and also our values as well. So the example here is like, did the customer verify, or did the agent verify the customer's identity? Really important, especially to make sure that everybody's information is safe and secure, and we take this extremely seriously. So the fact that we could now get 100% coverage for these types of questions is amazing, because if we didn't do this, it could flag up as no. It can then come straight to one of my team to have to manually look over it, feed that back, and then also if it has related to any sort of incident, we can catch that as well. Really good for catching things early. But what makes me really excited about the Ask AI is we actually ask it a lot to do with complaints, customer dissatisfaction, and also vulnerable customers as well, to have an actual look into those conversations. Did somebody disclose anything that we should be acknowledging? And it can be very kind of layered, which is amazing. So did somebody disclose this? If they had, did my agent actually ask them, acknowledge it? And if they haven't, did we, or if we have, did we also ask to record this with their permission? So, and you can build those layers and you can build those foundations with Ask AI as well. So we really use that feature quite a lot across it. And Cordless have been amazing just with all of our questions and really helping us hone in on this and build it out to really suit our team's needs. So I really do like the Ask AI feature.
Yeah. Sorry to interject before we move to the Klaus part. Yeah, really, I'm really happy to hear that, and I just wanted to kind of add on the Ask AI. So we approach this from a different perspective than Klaus. We don't like offer the QA and QA kind of streamlined QA process, but what you can do with it is, as Shannon mentioned, you can ask any question about your transcript. So a lot of the script adherence for agents, especially when it comes to compliance, especially when it comes to authenticating customers, or again, like Shannon said, with the vulnerable customers, that is when you absolutely cannot afford any slip-ups, or ideally try to minimize them. This is kind of the aim, or one potential use of this. So, but other questions, we see our customers using it in different ways, not just for script adherence, but also, has the customer problem been resolved? So more on the like quality side. But yeah, thank you, Shannon, for the endorsement.
Yeah, always. And yeah, this is what I was trying to say earlier. It was called filtered views when I was getting stuck on my words, pulling these keyword trackers and or Ask AI questions and things into Klaus. So I love it, and I also love all the Klaus memes and things. We always as a team screenshot it, and especially the Halloween puns. They're the best. But I digress. Back into filtered views. So what we actually do, we have a lot of clients, and we have to make sure that we can bring in different types of workspaces for each different type of client, and making sure that PII is safe, there is no crossover, and Klaus really allow us to manage that really well. And then also within these workspaces, having those filtered views. So when we were talking about the keyword trackers, we can actually set up a tag to come in, flag it. It then comes in and flags any immediate concerns and risks with customer interactions. And we could say it could be like a data breach, for instance, in one of the filtered views. It comes straight in. We know if any conversation shows up in there, it needs our attention like straight away. So it's really great that way as well. And that's what we use for the filtered views. And yeah, so this is, I was going to talk a little bit more about sentiment tracker, and I think we get double the sentiment tracker because we have it within Cordless. and you can give feedback to that sentiment tracker as well. So it's really important that we do give feedback to it, because obviously helping customers is helping them manage their debt. Sometimes they can come having these types of conversations could be triggered as maybe like a negative sentiment. So we also really need to help change that narrative and give feedback to that type of conversation as well, because actually a lot of it is really positive in what's happening. And then we also get the sentiment tracker within Klaus too. So it's really good the way that it can both show up, and it basically it's like a double layer of, is this conversation going the way we want it to go? And it's, the way that the transcript gets pulled in, the audio gets pulled in. We talk a lot about transparency within the team, but we also allow our clients to have access to our workspaces as well. So they actually are able to go in there and see calls straight off the bat, see the transcripts, and we don't, obviously, again, we walk the walk. We let our clients actually see into all of the conversations that we're having with their customers. And we want to encourage, again, that feedback loop, that open conversation with not just our agents, but also with our clients as well. And yeah, lovely little, this is actually, I can't really take too much credit for this, because the questions that we actually do here was for one of my senior operations specialists. She came up with it because with regards to us really taking it seriously and wanting our agents to really take something away from any of the quality assurance that we do, we now have like a shortcut in there. So we encourage them to ask a question about the feedback they received, let us know what they've learned, let us know how they feel after it as well, and really kind of keep up that feedback loop. So every time they get one, we ask them to also give us a little bit of engagement back with it to make sure that it's really sinking in, and they actually really are learning something from it. And again, we try not let that slip through the cracks, because if you let it slip through the cracks, then it will start to become monotonous again, and we never want that to happen. And Klaus makes it really great to reply to them, to dispute conversations. It's really great. It's such a good platform.
Anne-Maria, would you like to brag a little bit?
No, so good to hear. Good to hear, from actual users that, the things that, the team has built and shipped, that they really work nicely. And it's so lovely to hear how these two worlds come together in such a great way, because obviously Klaus has been, like you mentioned, Irina, you mentioned, the voice has been a bit forgotten and, on the back burner in terms of channels, and Klaus has been very much, focused on building things, for like written interactions, all our AI features, auto QA stuff has been, very much on that front. And, voice is something that we have just recently dipped our toes into, and having this, cordless cloud integration that, helps you pull in those calls, get all those insights, from the cordless side, and that you can actually utilize to do QA in a more organized and structured front. Like that's awesome. And I'm very excited to see how that goes. And also, it applies to anyone who uses, just voice, chat, anything. You can bring everything in and have your QA done in one place, and actually get an overview of, okay, what works in what channels and what to improve. Because those difference can be, those things can be different. So I'm very excited to hear about your use case and how you are making the best out of Klaus for your team.
Yeah, no, it's really great. I do love it. And I think being able to separate it into workspaces and actually see different IQS across different clients, and then also like a full view of it, it's just really good. And I can't fault the customer service from Klaus either, because I'm constantly on chat asking for help, and everyone's just been so lovely to me. Definitely a regular over there.
No, that's so nice to hear. I will pass on the good words. Yeah, we use Klaus ourselves internally as well for our QA. Nice. So I guess it's paying off.
Yeah, for sure.
It's really, really lovely to see a lot of love from in all sides for all the tools. And thank you, Shannon, for showing how, like, showcasing Ophelos and your setup. I'm sure this is like very interesting to see how this can be done. And it looks like you have like a very high standard for how you operate your phone lines and support in general. So I guess the only topic that I would like to go into is what is the future? What is the future of QA? How can we automate it? How can we automate it, maintaining a good quality, making sure that we support people with it, and not just for QA, but what are the risks of automation, and how does it impact compliance in the company? Anne-Maria, would you like to start off?
Yeah, sure. So obviously, I think everyone knows that AI in one way or the other will be the future, and very much, involved in our work, and already, with the Ask AI, like, providing a lot of, value, and, on Klaus's side as well, like we have done a lot of AI already for years, and, keep adding it on. But, from conversations with customers and, even prospects who come in to see, okay, what Klaus can do, it's very evident that expectations on, what you can do and what it should do are very different. And, very often people assume that, okay, we have AI, so it can do everything. Like, we don't need people anymore. It can just, we can automate in a way that our AI does the job. No, we're not there yet. And I do hope that we will not get there yet. So I would say that setting the expectations on how to automate and what AI can do is like crucial, so that it actually really helps you and your team in your work. And companies should be really mindful in not over relying on AI because it's not there yet, in functionality, in it can't replace the human mind. It can do some things very well, it can pick up grammar mistakes better, most likely, than humans can do, or it can pick up things that maybe the human mind misses. But the human element is still like a massive game changer, because we all have been in a situation where, a chat has been replaced with a bot and it doesn't lead anywhere. Or, we have been on calls where you have like 10 steps of this, press 1 and press 2. But what you really want to do is like, you want to talk to a human, especially if you have a really big problem, right? So I think, setting those expectations and really making clear to yourself, like, what do you want to achieve with AI is a very crucial thing to keep in mind when thinking of automation, because there are great ways already now that can, help to replace those like time-consuming, boring things that no human wants to do. But definitely not there yet in terms of the whole replacing the humankind. So I hope we will not get there yet.
Definitely. Shannon, do you agree?
I actually yes and no. I think with AI, it is the future. And with being an AI-led company, we actually are extremely excited about like the features and how you can manipulate it, I suppose, to work for you. So I think it's really important to not be 100% reliant on it. But I also think it's extremely important to always train it, because in feedback to it, again, like everything that was spoke about, still with human, you can actually do that with AI as well. Our data team and our data science team have been amazing with building product and Ophelos GPT, and they rely heavily on obviously our feedback as well. We can train it with our tone of voice, we can train it with pretty much anything, and then feed back to it. And I think if you're just constantly always doing that, I think you will get the results that you want. But I don't think you can ever just let it be. So in that regard, yes, I do agree with it, but I do also think that there's so much opportunity to really develop it into something that can help your company thrive and grow into like something phenomenal. So I do like it. It's an exciting prospect. Yeah.
I'm very excited, and I definitely agree with you both. And from our side, want to add that almost always when people hear AI and customer support in one sentence, the immediate association with this is interactions with customers. So replacing all agents with AI, just like let's just plug AI and like automate all of our conversations. We at Cordless take a different approach. We deploy AI on the analytics side. I think there is a huge potential to making customer support operations a lot more efficient with AI on assisting agents, assisting managers with AI, with like and analyzing what's going on with the conversations. And that frees important, valuable human time to deal with important, valuable human questions. Rather than repetitive questions or something that can be improved through a process, not necessarily even with a chatbot that is just a smarter chatbot, but with a process or with automating or improving some parts. So this is kind of our stance. I think we've covered everything that we set out to cover, and thank you both so much. I learned a lot. I thought that was really interesting. We've got one question in the chat, which I would like to pose to you. By the way, please feel free to put questions in the chat. We now have time to kind of go through them. So the question is from Julia. How do you feel about adoption of AI features? A question for every side in this conversation, those who are building AI-powered products and users who are using them. What is the learning curve? Is there a fear of AI? And what kind of your thoughts on the reliability of AI? Shannon, would you like to?
Yeah, I think I like the adoption of the AI features. Equally, I think it's extremely important to be transparent about them as well. So if there has been an AI response, making sure that you're transparent with that to say, obviously, this is an AI response. If you would like to, if it doesn't cover what you need, or if you'd like to speak to an agent, then please get back. And I think also not using AI as a barrier, just exactly like what you've mentioned, Irina, just it's to help, free up your specialist to do the really important human work that AI potentially might not be able to, but also just not using it as a barrier. So if it is an easily answered question that you've trained AI to do, still allowing those customers to get back in touch when they need to and when they want to is extremely important as well. So, and yeah, there is learning curves, and I think we can trust some reliability. Again, we feedback a lot about it in Ophelos. So even if we do, and we use Klaus, actually, we have a filter view set up for any replies that may potentially go out that is AI generated, and we will quality assure them as well. So we constantly work it into our workflow. So yeah, that's my side.
Thank you. Yeah, that makes total sense. Anne-Maria, do you have any thoughts on adoption of AI of Klaus customers? What kind of patterns do you see?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it depends on the AI feature itself, like and the whole user experience. Like there are some things, like for example in Klaus we have a spotlight feature that instantly flags these must review conversations. And with that, like the effect is immediately seen. Like you see if it works or not, and then that builds trust. And okay, this is something I can combine into my QA workflow. Okay, this is really helping me. But the things like auto QA, for example, where okay you have to implement it to your scorecard to understand okay does it evaluate the conversations like my agents would do and so on, and understanding the actual effect. From the analytics side and, understanding different metrics, like that involves a learning curve, yes. And I think with any like generative AI, like people want to first make sure that it works the way they want it to, and that takes time. So there's for sure a learning curve in that. And, I guess for anyone who kind of, uses OpenAI to generate anything, there's always the whole discussion on security, is my data safe, and the whole reassurance on that side of things. So at least that has been like the experience for us with Klaus. But yeah, we have a lot of stuff done internally by our data team, building things. So, and then again involving OpenAI as well. So lots of conversations around it, and gathering feedback from customers. Okay, does this work? Does this not? Reiterating. I guess it's like the same process for anyone who kind of involves AI in their product. But yeah, I wouldn't say fear. I would say more like reliability and is it worth the investment side of things.
Yeah, definitely something similar to what we see as well. Amelia asks, do you have any tips on QA in calls that don't have a transcript that AI can analyze? I would, if you don't mind, I will. I can start on this one. There are that limits the options, I think. So to get to the content of the conversation, you still need to listen to it, but you can select. You can be smarter with selecting conversations to review. So depending on what data your telephony platform gives you, you can select calls over or under a certain duration. You can select them from certain accounts that call you if you have, depending on your kind of pattern of usage, or maybe from if you have multiple numbers in different regions, you can select them by region if you know something that if you already know something to look out for in different regions. Or so with Cordless, for example, you can see calls that come through different IVR branches. So you can see what calls, if you have 3 branches in the IVR, I don't know, if your financial product, card, loans, and mortgages, then you can, by having the metadata of this call, even if you don't have access to the content, you can select which ones do you want to review more. And obviously the ones, like if you want to select calls for a particular agent, you can also do that. So I guess basically having as much metadata about the call as possible when you don't have access to a transcript, I think this is probably the kind of the best course of action to review, to QA calls like this without the analytics.
Mm. Yeah. I'm going to jump in here as well, if that's okay. Just purely from a QA perspective, I think without the transcript and obviously without the AI to analyze it, yes, you still have to listen, manually be there and actually pick up on certain things. But I really am going to bring it back to that trust building within your team, because what actually helps us too is just spot checks. And my specialists actually come forward whenever they've had very difficult calls, calls that might not have went well, and seek feedback on that as well. And that in turn actually brings those risks like to us, so we can be like, cool, let's listen to it together, let's actually see what's happened, is there something that we could have done differently, and then we can actually see, is that something that we can do and fix going forward. So I think, because sometimes we want to be able to see maybe the calls that haven't went well, so we can actually tangibly feed something back to people. Building that trust, they will bring them forward to you because they actually do want to learn, and they want to be transparent with you as well. So that actually helps with the spot checking and being able to find conversations that are a little bit meatier, I suppose, than others.
That's a very, very good point. If you have conversations brought to you, if you have this trust in your team, this would be a lot more beneficial for everyone involved, rather than trying to build a process around lack of human relationship.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I think, Amelia is typing. Of course, thank you. Thank you for posing an interesting question. All right, well, thank you very much. Thank you everyone who came. Hopefully this was useful, and hopefully you liked it. Thank you so much, and thank you so much, Anne-Maria. Very interesting conversation. I think we covered a lot of aspects of QA very well. So yeah, see you at our next event.
Yeah.
And happy holidays, I guess.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much. Happy holidays, and thanks everybody for tuning in. It's been
Thank you
great.
from my side as well. This was amazing, great chat, and thank you, Irina and Shannon, for this conversation.
You too. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.